Welcome back. Ekpo here.
It's a beautiful morning. Welcome.
Of course, let's get started, and I will start on an appeal. This time, following the total collapse of sports infrastructure across the country, the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the National Institute for Sports, Comrade Philip Shaibu, has pleaded with the President of the country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to declare a state of emergency on sports infrastructure in Nigeria. Do you agree with Philip Shaibu that sports sector needs a state of emergency?
I agree with him to an extent that we'll continue to, refurbish some of the infrastructures that we have. It's not, this is not a new thing. We've always clamored for enhanced infrastructure because even when you have abundant talent and athletes, if you don't have an environment that is conducive for them to train, infrastructure that will help them develop their skills, they cannot compete at the top level, and that's been a challenge, in past decades. So he's only asserting those claims, but I think that the NLC, knows more about this. It should be as part of their agenda for next year to see that the budgetary allocation that will be dished out to the department is looking to that. President Bola Tinubu can only do his little best when it comes to an area of budget allocation to the Ministry of Sports or the National Sports Commission. It is now incumbent on those who manage affairs of the machineries of sports to see how far these things can be channeled to infrastructure. We will continue to talk about infrastructure challenge and the dilapidated nature of our infrastructure, except we are very intentional about it. But it's good that him now is at the helm of affairs of the NIS. Let's see how he goes about it. But it's not just about clamoring and shouting. It's about doing the needful. He's close to the corridor of power. They should start from there and let's start to see what they can do.
Talking about the debt of sports infrastructure across the country, Nigeria, I think I agree with Shabu that yes, these infrastructures are grossly inadequate and they are not in the proper state. For those who follow football, you understand that CAF, in conjunction with FIFA, has approved only one facility for one stadium for football action across the country. That's to show you that yes, all the other stadium facilities are substandard and not good enough. So we need to have facilities that are good enough that can condition our athletes for continental and international meets, not when they train on substandard facilities and then when it's time to compete, they now have, stage fright because of not being used to the kind of facilities that are being provided. Morocco today is doing so well, because of proper infrastructural development. They gave it time, and now they are beginning to reap from the benefit of having state-of-the-art facilities.
Obviously, and it's no joke because nobody wants to stress themselves this time around in looking for bidding for hosting rights. Even for you to bid for a hosting right for anything, they look at what is on ground first off.
Morocco is hosting several sports facilities, not just football.
Because they have it. These days, in fact, that's a tourist attraction. It used to be Algeria, Egypt. But now it's Morocco because Morocco do have it. They have an intentional plan, a strategic plan to create. In fact, there is the documentary I watched. Every city has the intention is to have a mini sports infrastructure in every city where games can be hosted, and that's what they are doing. And so I think that look at now. Let's take a look at what is happening. You mentioned the Yo. I also take you back in athletics now. You talk about Motion Abiola Stadium because of the effort that has been done there. Almost every competition, junior competitions or in athletics is now being hosted there because they see that place as already equipped. And I tell you, the confederations at the level of the continent don't want to stress themselves, even at the world level. So if you have something good enough, that place will become a beacon of activity. It becomes a tourist attraction for the world to see. And I think that's what the US of this world, that's what some of the European countries as well as the North Americans are doing. And I think that NIS chairman is saying the right thing, but then it's beyond just saying. That's what I said to an extent. It is beyond just saying, let us get it right. The appropriation has been allocated to the department, to the ministry. How do we go about these things? Is it just about recurrent sporting expenditures? No. Let us look at how we can maximize revenues and see how we can channel this thing. Let's be intentional. Shehu Diko talked about a few days ago that they want to build infrastructure in every geopolitical zone, stadia, so that we don't just decrease the effort of the Edo state government. And I think that is a good one. But then you need to also encourage the state government. It's a joint partnership in sport, because the government alone cannot, they cannot do all these things. The state also needs to be intentional, and then the persons working in the ministry and the sports commission needs to be intentional, so that we can have this thing, because it's beyond rhetoric this time.
Well, clearly beyond rhetoric, we need to see action. The facilities has to spread, according to Jiko, but then it has to be on ground for everybody to see. It like you mentioned, you do not bid to host sporting tournaments when you do not have the facilities on ground. Countries that have the facilities on ground, like Morocco, will outbid you or will be selected in fact, will be wooed to host these events than the ones that you will need to build a fresh facility. Do act when the sun is out there. Well, let's stay away from that quickly and go to arm wrestling now. The Arm Wrestling Federation, EPO, has set in motion an elaborate plan to ensure they receive enough corporate backing for the successful outing of next year's African Championship in Ghana. Arm wrestling, no doubt, it's a new sport here in Nigeria, but it's gaining grounds.
Yeah, it's gaining ground, and I think that and I also love the fact that they're doing it intentionally when it comes to building. Next year, they're going to have some activities. They're going to have, the competition that will lead to the qualifiers for the African Games. And it's intentionally, I think what they're doing is to see how far they can move on. The man who's at the helm of affairs, Samuel Olatunji, is doing so well in terms of trying to rebuild. In fact, that guy has really done so well in the area. In recent competitions, Nigeria have really shown strength among the other sporting nations when it comes to arm wrestling. It's a new invention, but we are making name, and I think that it's good at this point to see that we have it all covered. He's also thinking that more effort will be put in the area of seeking for more talent, because those talents, like we have them, yes, age is also very important. At each category, we need to now have under 15, under 18. These are the areas they are also structuring to achieve. If we can get this one, we find then the area of corporate sponsorship, the budget has been appropriated, fine. But sometimes this budget does not really carry, a federation for a very long time. So him too is thinking that the board will work towards ensuring that they have a viable budget, because they're going to make travels, they're going to have logistic activities, they're going to host tournaments. And I just think that all these plans, if well knitted, and well implemented, are going to have a very lovely program coming from the Arm Wrestling Federation.
Arm Wrestling Federation of Nigeria looking out towards a successful outing out there in Ghana. We wish them the very best. While we hope that they will get all the support they need to compete at this West African tournament. Meanwhile, Abdulmir Jimo has produced a near flawless display to dominate in the Scrabble Mania event out there in Liberia, in Sinko. That Sinko is in Morocco, in Monrovia, Liberia. Epo, this is really interesting. Making impact in Scrabble ahead of the 2026 African Championship.
Yeah, Jimo is a known name when it comes to Scrabble Mania in Nigeria and beyond, in Africa. At this point now, we're not even talking about him conquering Africa. We're talking about the effort he's shown so far. And with the way he's going about his win, I just begin to think that when it comes to Scrabble, in fact, generally in Scrabble, Nigerians are good. We have just few North African countries that are challenging us in the area of Scrabble. And with what Jimo have done again now, it tells that, come on, we have enough talent. I think he had just a few losses and had a lovely ride all through. That tells you at the level that he is right now. And they call him the wordsmith because of how good he's been. And of course, the Scrabble Federation too, they're not taking anything to chance. I appreciate the effort of Adegoke, who has done so well at the continental level in the Pan-African Scrabble champion, a board in ensuring that we have meaningful activities in Scrabble. And Nigerians are well represented. So when it comes to Scrabble, with what Jimo is just one of those kind. But I love the fact that he's taking us to the bigger level and competing, big with
Scrabble Association.
Yes, I think it's good. It's good because, like I said, sometimes these things are selected from the effort shown. For example, I'll take you. Well, now we're talking about Adeye Joji, who has done so well in Scrabble Nigeria, and he was uplifted, to go and represent us as the level of the Africa, and now he's headed. The same thing happening, to this man in tennis, because of the way Nigeria and Egypt are doing so well in tennis. I think we have a Nigerian now who is in charge of tennis activity, in Africa. That's how it is, because sometimes they look at, okay, if we have good Scrabblers in Nigeria, it becomes easier for you to also have those who are running the activities there. So I think that's the level. More representation from the country.
Well, let's go straight down to the youth games, and the fourth African youth games is here. We understand about 86 athletes are expected to represent Nigerian games, to represent Nigeria at the African youth games coming up in Angola, beginning from today. The contingent had arrived Angola, and they are expected to compete in 12 sports: athletics, badminton, boxing, beach, weightlifting. EPO, the 6 cities in Luanda, in Angola, will be hosting this event that is to be competed for by lads between the age of 14 and 17.
If you look at the number, it is 6 athletes from Nigeria. Quite good.
It's a large contingent.
A large contingent, truly. Angola. The last time they mentioned Angola very open like this was when they last hosted the African Cup of Nations back then. It was 2012, And I think that for Angola to host this particular one, where you'll be having 54 countries.